Okay, so another magic method that you may have heard of is clone. So let's get into the clone magic method. We are going to create some PHP files in order to make our process a little bit easier. Index 3 and I think index 4 is the final one, maybe. Okay, so what is clone itself? You may have heard of it, but for those of you who haven't, let's get into the concept of cloning in PHP. So if I have a class, an empty class, and I create a user and I var dump that object and get into the clone, I'll run the PHP on that. As you can see, the empty object has some number in front of it. So if I create user1, although it seems very similar to the user itself, but surely I get another object. So what I'm going to tell you is maybe complicated for you, or maybe not, hopefully not. But we have something called pass by reference and something called pass by value. The cloning is regarded and related to those things that we pass by reference. So maybe something that you can look up to anytime. Pass by reference, and pass by value. Okay, so these two objects are completely different from each other. Let's make this a little bit more advanced. What we can do is to clone an object. This is how we do it. So if I get PHP index 1 and var dump, I get this object and this object. So cloning means that you clone the whole thing into another one. So let's get into some example that why we are going to need it. If we have a class named user again with a public email property as sample at gmail.com. Okay, if I get the first object and if there will be another one like this, clone the user, please. Okay, so if at any time the email changes like this, user email is new email at gmail.com. So let's say you have a very crowded class. You created a property, but another developer comes up and change this property to what he or she needs. The safe way in this scenario for that developer is to clone that object, because what happens now is that if I var dump, and this one I'm going to say email has been changed from, and let's say old user email to user email. Let's see what happens. If I run this one, as you can see, the old one is sample, right? Because I cloned the object. But after that, I changed the original object itself, the email of it. So the old one is this one, and it has been changed to the new email. So that is one way to preserve the original properties or anything like this. If we want to go to the next level, maybe, let's say we have, actually we don't need this. We have a user class, and of course we have an address class. In the address class, we have line property, and we have public function construct with that line, and we're going to say this line is equal to line. That easy. And in the user, we also have construct and inject the address class. Let's say this address is equal to address, and of course we are going to create a property out of it, right? Okay, say protected address. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So if I have something like this, the address is new up from the address class. It's something like this: 45 sample street. And so it has speller. And I have a user object as well by passing the address itself into that as a constructor argument. So what do you think it will happen if I say address line is equal to new address? So common sense says that because we already passed the address as an argument to this, and of course its line is above that, that's silly, but let's say that if we var dump the user, you think that you get the last, you think you get the first one, but it's actually the last one. As you can see, it has been changed. So this is what I'm talking about. If you change anything that has been passed by reference in PHP, you're gonna change whatever it was that you passed before that. So this is where we come across the clone magic method, right? Here I'm not going to make it repetitive, so I have this tool as we did before, but after the user, I'm going to say we have a cloned user. As we did before, we cloned the user object which we had before with the original address, and after that I'm going to change the address. So if I get the user, I still get the new address, but if I get the cloned user on the other hand, so yeah, that's weird. Let me see. You should have get the old one, actually. That is something weird happened. Okay, the cloned user. Oh, that's, yeah, because I already set this and then clone the user. That's why it happened. What can we do about this one? So let me create another one and hopefully we get the right result. So after the user has been created, we say cloned user. I forgot. Actually forgot something. I'm so sorry about that. So this is why I say that I forgot something frequently and other ones don't believe me. So yeah, the magic method itself, it has to be created. So let's say this address, and this is important. So we get this address, but not from the address that has been passed by reference, but we clone this address that has been passed. So every time that we change anything in the address, because the clone is here, we preserve the old address, the original one. So now hopefully it will work. I cannot believe that I did that. So yeah, and of course here we have to say, let me see if I'm in the right place. Okay, let's get back. We have to cut this out because it's not here. That has to be here. And of course, if I get the index 4, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, for the mess. Yep, I get the result. So if I get the cloned user, as you can see, it's 45 sample street. But if I get the user, because the user has been changed its address, I of course get the new address. So it is pretty rare that you come across the clone method. But in case that you have the same object and this object or this class or this method has various usages between you and other developers, between you and previous developers or anything like this, you can take advantage of clone magic method to preserve the original property, the original value that has been passed by your friends. Everything that can be passed by your friends is, as you can see, changeable. Even if you created that object, that value, that variable beforehand. So you can look up for the clone usages as well, but as I said, it's pretty rare. So that's clone magic method.